Good morning. It is Thursday, May 29th, and we're going to go look at some corn in the fog. Let's get after it. Up here in Northwest Ohio today, going to check out some corn. Customer has some concerns about it, so we're going to take a look, see what's going on. Sorry I didn't post yesterday. I went to Indiana to look at some corn and beans, and it was a new customer down there. Didn't know those guys, so I felt a little weird videotaping stuff. So you missed out on some Indiana content, but today we're gonna check some stuff out up here in Northwest Ohio and let you know what we find. The dealer had some concerns about how the corn was looking in this field. He thought maybe there was some seedling diseases hitting this corn. So we wanted to come out and check and see what's going on. One of the first things that we notice here is speckling. This is going to come from some of the spray, the herbicide that was sprayed here. It will have been fairly recently, I am guessing. If we look at this dandelion here, you can see how these are all twisted up and turned. This is really indicative of a growth regulator herbicide, so I'm assuming that 2,4-D was likely used, or a dicamba product, but probably 2,4-D. And we're seeing some crop response from that. Let's see if we can find an example here for you. Here would be an example. You see how this plant's just kind of floppy? Kind of flopped over a little bit here. There, you can see it better that way. You can see like the leaves are just kind of droopy and stuff on it. That's going to be indicative here. You can see it on this one as well right there. That's going to be indicative of that 2,4-D working on the corn plant. The other thing that's working as a disadvantage against this plant right now is how cold it's been. Again, it's 55 degrees here today. It is almost June, and we really haven't had many GDUs at all here recently. And so this corn is really having a hard time metabolizing all this herbicide that was sprayed on it. I think that's what's going on here. Before we actually talk with the customer, and before we finally make some final decisions, we're going to talk with the customer and actually just verify, that he did spray a growth regulator. Because if he didn't, then that, throws a wrench in this whole assumption. But yeah, I think that's probably what we have going on here. Another reason that I do not suspect seedling blight or a disease as causing the abnormal plant growth in this field is if you look at this plant, it's a small stunted plant, probably a late emerger, one that you would really suspect seedling blight to be working on if that was the primary concern here. But look at the area between the seed and the actual green part above ground. So this white stuff, this white section of the plant is what's growing below ground. And if it is infected with some sort of disease or fungus or something like that, this won't be that pearly white color. It'll be brown, discolored, could be even leaking some liquid. But this is healthy tissue right here. So again, another indication that it's probably not disease and is much more likely to be herbicide application. I guess I should clarify, because I really didn't. That corn's gonna be fine. Once we get some heat, it's gonna go through it. It'll be just fine. Just a little unsightly right now. So hopefully the customer isn't too concerned, because I think he can lay his head on the pillow tonight and not have too many worries. So good news. All right, field 2. 2 clues. 1, all bent up, twisted up plant here, indicative of growth regulator. Same over there. The other thing is I can just flat out smell the 2,4-D. So they must have sprayed this probably yesterday sometime. I could smell it. So yeah, that's a pretty good clue as to what we have going on here. Field 2 here, looking at it. In the good areas, stands are perfect, 30, 32,000. In the worst of the worst areas, I'm finding about 17. So if the whole field was 17, yeah, we'd probably tear it up and redo it. But considering that the 17 stand is a very minute portion of this field, I think we're going to be fine. We are pushing up to June now, and yeah, June planted crops just don't do as well typically as May ones. And so I think we're better off leaving this stand, even with some of the areas not being perfect, than coming in, tearing it all up, and redoing it, because the fact of the matter is at this stage, there are no mistakes. We cannot make mistakes. We can't get a rain, mud it in, because by the time you would be able to go back in and fix it, then you're looking at mid-June, and that's a disaster. We're not doing that. And so you're far better off keeping what you got here in this situation. Field 3. We've actually got some problems here. Most of the field's going to be fine, but then we do have areas like this where stuff either drowned out, crusted in, whatever. Fortunately, these areas aren't huge. You know, you walk up here and you can easily start rowing it once again. But right here where we're at, yeah, we have a wet spot right here that needs redone. And you can tell just by looking across the farm, you got a patch here, you got a patch up there, right there. You got a patch like right there that's gonna need redone. So this farmer, yeah, I will recommend he come out, drop the planter in these areas. Fortunately, it's pretty apparent. We'll talk real briefly about why corn replanting can be a pain. Get the sun out of your eyes and into mine here so you can see. Corn replanting is a pain, especially when you're spotting in, because where do you stop and then where do you start again? It's really hard to tell. Is that 20,000? Is that 25,000 from the tractor seat? So you wind up with areas that you have way too much population in, which causes all sorts of troubles there come harvest. But right through here, you can see it's going to be a pretty stark line. So we have corn there. We have basically no corn there. So I'm sitting right here in the line. This should be pretty easy to tell, even from the tractor cab, where to drop the planter. So replanting corn, not fun, but this is about the best case scenario that we have right here. Just to clarify, I did talk with the customer, and he had sprayed 2,4-D recently. And so again, that aligns exactly with what we were seeing, so makes sense. Thanks for watching today's video. Like, subscribe, and we'll catch you again on the next one.